Hello everyone, welcome back to the Mass Retirees Weekly Update. Today's Friday, June 16th. I'm Sean Duhimmel. Thank you so much for joining with us again this week. Now before I get going, I want to thank the 5,200 Mass Retirees members who participated in last Friday's Teletown Hall meeting. This was one of our biggest crowds yet. I can't tell you how much myself and our whole team here at Mass Retirees appreciates the fact that we get over 5,000 members on a Friday afternoon to participate in a town hall meeting. We got some great questions from members. I know that some folks, asked questions that were more of a personal nature, and we followed up with everybody after the meeting. So this marked the end of our 2022-2023 season of meetings. We will be kicking off our new season of area meetings and virtual meetings in September, on September 22nd, with our annual meeting, which will take place in Mansfield, Mass. This year. We have a new location. Full details are on page 3 of the July newsletter, which was just mailed to everyone on Thursday. So over the next coming days, you should be receiving your July newsletter in the mail from us. Again, page 3 always has the calendar of upcoming events. So the meeting location for September 22nd is listed in there. The September newsletter will contain the same information along with additional information of the other meetings we're planning for this fall and then heading into the winter of 2024. So we've moved the location of the annual meeting from Lombardo's in Randolph down to Mansfield. Lombardo's, just like Lantana, is closing. They're redeveloping that whole area. So unfortunately, we were forced to find a new location, and it's a pretty convenient location that we've found just off the highway down in Mansfield, Mass., not too far from Foxborough Stadium. So hopefully it will be a convenient place for a lot of members to come. We're looking forward to seeing you. So with that, let me jump into the news of the week. This week, 5 association bills or legislative proposals were heard by the Joint Committee on Public Service. This was the first hearing of this session that focused on some of our association's legislation. We have about 17 bills, I believe, that we've filed for the current session. The first 5 were heard this past Tuesday. Nancy McGovern, our legislative liaison, and myself provided testimony before the committee. Public Service is chaired by State Representative Ken Gordon from the town of Bedford, along with State Senator Mike Brady from the city of Brockton. At this hearing, however, on Tuesday, it was chaired by State Representative Natalie Higgins, who is the House Vice Chairman of the Public Service Committee. And for those of you who don't know, Public Service is the legislative committee that has oversight responsibilities over all legislation involving public retirement, active employee issues, collective bargaining, civil service, anything related to public service in Massachusetts will typically go before the Public Service Committee. And it is the committee that in most legislative sessions has the highest volume of bills pending before the committee. So the committee chairs, the committee members, the staff members that work for the Public Service Committee have quite a bit of work to do every year. So it's a huge undertaking. It's a very long process. Things get underway a little bit slower this time around, and that's largely due to the fact that all of the public hearings are now being held back in the State House for the first time since the beginning of the pandemic in the winter of 2020. Up until now, the hearings by and large had been held virtually. Well, starting this winter with the new legislative session, the legislature, both the House and the Senate, changed the rules to move public hearings back into the State House. However, they're going to continue holding a virtual component to the meetings. And how that works is that the legislative committees are taking testimony from people who are there in person, as well as for folks who are participating virtually through Zoom or Teams or different meeting technologies. And there are TV screens up in the hearing room and microphones, and it's become a little bit of a convoluted or confusing process because of the fact that all of this is new. This technology had to be installed in the State House. It didn't exist before. So it's taken a little bit of time to get things up and running. So we were very happy that 5 of the more important bills that we have filed. Now, I should add that all of our legislative package, every single bill we file is important, and we believe wholeheartedly in the passage of all of our proposals. However, you have to prioritize, and health insurance being such a primary and important feature of your retirement is always something that we are focused on. So at Tuesday's hearing, Nancy focused on 3 different pieces of legislation. One being the survivor health insurance benefits to make sure that surviving spouses who remarry are able to continue not only with their public pension, and that law was changed back in 2000. However, the law relative to health insurance benefits was not changed. So if a surviving spouse were to remarry, in some cases they would lose their health insurance benefits. And we call this the right to remarry. We do not believe that someone should be forced to make the choice between maintaining their health care benefits versus remarrying and moving on with their life. So this would bring some parity to the retirement law. It would also update what we believe to be an very, very old-fashioned law, that these laws have been on the books for many decades. They date back generations ago, when there was really just a different mindset around how these benefits are being provided and to whom and under what circumstances. So we got a very positive feedback from the committee on that particular issue. Another one of the issues that Nancy highlighted was the composition of the 17-member Group Insurance Commission. We believe that retirees deserve to have additional representation on the GIC. Right now we have a fantastic retiree representative, Jane Edmonds, who does a great job representing all retirees. But we would very much like to see one of those additional 17 seats be dedicated to a representative from mass retirees, that we have an additional seat at the table and a voice in the process. The 2 bills that I focused on, first and foremost, was the state basic life insurance benefit. This dates all the way back to 1985, the last time the benefit was updated to the current $5,000 level. It's something that, it goes without saying, is very, very outdated. The cost of living in 1985 and the cost of burial expenses, I should say, in 1985 were very, very different than what the cost is today. And this benefit is in dire need of being updated. So that was the first bill I testified on. The second bill is in relation to the so-called Medicare buy-in program. And as all of you know, at the local level, we have been very successful working with Blue Cross Blue Shield and Maya to implement a municipal Medicare buy-in program. Several dozen municipalities have now availed themselves of this benefit. It is a true win-win both for the local community as well as the retirees, with the local community picking up any additional fees and penalties that would be assessed to the retiree through the Medicare buy-in process. We have been advocating that that same process be implemented at the state level for the 10,000 or so state retirees and local retirees participating in the GIC who are not eligible for Medicare. Last year, this proposal got put on hold temporarily because of the fact that the GIC was engaged in the procurement process, which was a huge undertaking. So knowing that, we backed off. We've given the GIC some time to complete procurement, get through open enrollment this spring, and now we have re-engaged with the GIC. We are viewing this legislative proposal as more or less a placeholder in case the GIC needs legislation in order to act or needs some type of funding in order to administratively carry this out. Now, I should point out that even if the GIC were to begin a Medicare buy-in program today, the earliest that any retirees could be entered into Medicare would be January of 2024. And that's due to the federal laws and rules surrounding Medicare. There's a process that has to be followed. There's a timeline that has to be followed. So at the earliest, someone would be enrolled in January. So it gives us a little bit of time to work on, but time's going to pass by quickly. So we're going to continue to advocate and work with the GIC with the hope of at least starting this process by the end of the year, and we'll be providing you with a full update on what that may entail and anything that you need to know or that our members need to do if and when the GIC starts to move forward with that process at the state level. Now, before closing today, I want to provide an update for everybody on local activity regarding the additional 2% COLA benefit for the current fiscal year, which is FY23. As I think everybody knows by now, last year we were successful in passing a temporary increase in the annual COLA benefit from the traditional 3% COLA to a one-time 5% COLA for FY23. That benefit was passed by the legislature last summer, was automatic for state and teacher retirees, that was included in the July pension check, or retroactive to July, and has been paid ever since. However, at the local level, for the 102 local retirement systems, state law required that it be a local option. And the Governor Baker at the time, sent the legislation back with an amendment that made the local acceptance process a little bit more convoluted and really put a pretty high hurdle in place in terms of it getting adopted. However, we are very, very happy with the number of retirement systems and local communities that have followed the state's lead and have approved this benefit at the local level. As of today, 77 local retirement boards have approved the additional 2% COLA. Of that number, 63 local communities have also adopted the local option law to allow that COLA benefit to be paid. And just like the state and teacher retirement systems, once a local community approves the additional 2% COLA, it's retroactive back to last July 1st, and the COLA is paid on whatever the COLA base happens to be for that retirement system. So right now, there are a number of retirement boards and retirement systems across the state whose local governing authorities have not yet approved the additional benefit. We have until the end of this month on June 30th to reach approval. If not, the timeline expires and it will be too late. Once we get to July 1st, any community that has not adopted the additional benefit, it will be too late for them to do so. So over the next 2 weeks, there is a bit of a scramble or a mad dash underway throughout a number of communities across Massachusetts, but I want to highlight a handful of county or regional systems that are very close to approving the additional benefit. In a county or regional retirement system, the local authority are the boards of selectmen of the towns participating in that retirement system. So we have Plymouth County, Hampden County, and Worcester County, or Worcester Regional Retirement System, all right now very much engaged in a process with their local communities to get the local towns to adopt the additional COLA benefit before June 30th or by June 30th. Hampden County appears to be very close to achieving that. I believe as of today, they are 2 or 3 communities away from hitting the 2/3 threshold that's required for local approval. In both Plymouth County and I believe Worcester County are also more than halfway there, but a lot of work needs to be done. Now I know we have, in addition to the retirement boards and retirement board members and the county treasurer, Tom O'Brien down in Plymouth County, who's really spearheading this, we have a number of Mass Retirees members and local retirees who have really taken the bull by the horns and are going above and beyond, not only in their own community, but working with retirees across the county systems to help them get adopted before the clock runs out. And I cannot thank you enough for this type of grassroots effort and the work that goes into this and the commitment and the time that these retirees are spending. And we'll be talking more about this in the newsletter as time goes forward. But I want to give credit where it's due and just simply say thank you. Thank you to the retirement board members. Thank you to the elected officials at the local level. And most of all, thank you to the local retirees and state and teacher retirees, by the way, who have stepped up and are helping their local retirees. So if you live in one of these counties or one of the communities that you're going to see listed in today's email or in our newsletter, who are still engaged in this process, contact your local your local board of selectmen, or select boards as they're now known. Urge them to do the right thing for their local retirees and adopt the additional 2% COLA. There is no additional cost to the community for FY24 or going forward into FY25. All of those financial details have been spelled out by the retirement systems in the information that they have provided to their local communities. These costs are rolled into the pension funding schedule. Again, this is a one-time benefit for FY23. This 5% COLA won't be paid again for FY24 or 25 or going forward. It was a one-time stopgap measure to respond to the severe inflation that thankfully continues to be on the decline. So with that, I'm going to sign off for this week, but I will be back to you again next week with an update. Most likely next week's update will focus on some recent news and activities out of the State Group Insurance Commission. They met just yesterday, so we'll be providing an update to you next week before we go into a short break around Independence Day, but we'll be back to you again real soon. Take care, everybody. Bye-bye.